Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 Joint Finance, Audit, and Budget Records and Public Safety Committees to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is adoption of the agenda.
Romano adopts the agenda.
Support.
By Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, please vote.
Song votes yes.
Motion passes 13-0.
Next item is approval of minutes dated November 20th, 2023. Need a motion to approve.
So moved, Perna. Support.
Moved by Commissioner Perna, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Any changes to the minutes, Commissioners? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Next item is public participation. This is a first opportunity for public participation for those who would like to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on an item which is on today's agenda. There'll also be a second opportunity for public participation for those who would like to speak on any issue for up to 3 minutes. Would anyone from the public like to speak? Agenda items only. Going once, twice. We'll close public participation. Next is presentation. 6A, Finance Department 2023 Third Quarter Financial Report. I need a motion to receive and file. Moved by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Haw. Good afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon and happy holidays to each of you. Again, quarterly report that I normally present. I don't have a lot of comments, things of no concern to myself. You may have noticed one thing I don't didn't necessarily stick out at you if you weren't looking closely maybe, but the operating expenses may have seemed a little low for the third quarter, and that's quite a bit of that's due to the fact that we were basically putting no transactions into one solution for the last 8 or 9 days of September. So a lot of those third quarter invoices are gonna show up in the fourth quarter in Workday, so.
Steve, I was looking closely, just for the record. And my question was actually going to be on page 17, because our quarter-to-date actual versus our quarter-to-date actual prior year was off about $14 million. So,
Page 17.
so I'm on page, I don't know, it's 17 of our packet. I don't know what actual page number it is. Maybe that would be a good thing going forward.
Put numbers on
Page numbers on.
What schedule, what fund?
But it's the quarterly expenditure report, the general fund, all expenditure categories for the quarter, September 30th, where we're looking at every single department. And I'm just looking at quarter-to-date actual versus prior year quarter-to-date actual. And that's actually what jumped out at me. So I will piggyback on your comment. And the biggest one is the contributions to other funds. It looks like that's where the bulk of it is.
Yeah, I think if I'm on the same schedule you are, you're showing $3.3 million of contributions for year to date. I'm not sure I'm on the same page as you.
I'm looking at just the expenditures by department page.
All expenditures,
All expenditures, general fund specific.
correct. I think I'm where you're at.
So it looks like last year in this quarter, we made 15,711,000 in contributions to other funds. And in this year, we've only made $500.
Correct, because we were doing, a year ago in October, we were probably backdating contributions to the fiscal year funds like child care fund, front of the court and all that. So those will show up on the next quarterly report as year to dates.
Any other questions here? Okay, I don't see any other questions. Getting off easy, Steve. Must be the holidays.
We'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, then. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is the 2023 study report for 2024 equalized values. Need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Support Zinner.
Moved by Commissioner Van Sickle, supported by Commissioner Zinner. Hello, Kristen. So you got the
Good
floor.
afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here. This is the exciting report. This is where I get to attempt to predict what's going to happen come March after the Board of Review process when I see you again in April. Just a couple things with these values. And I learned the hard way. Page 4 of my report, but page 128 of your packet is the total real and personal property increase amounts. The overall increase for the two real and personal property combined is 10.73, which is actually higher than I thought it might have been, only because of the personal property losses with commercial personal and industrial personal. Commercial personal this year, we lost 10% of the value from the previous year. And then for industrial, the eligible manufacturing personal property exemption, we lost about 25% of our industrial personal roll. However, the exciting thing is, even with the high interest rates, on page 133 of your packet is the total residential increase, and we're looking at almost 12% increase. So I was kind of surprised by that. You know, people are still buying and selling, and the market is out there, and so the sales are indicating almost 12% increase in values. So couple that with the fact that we have our second year of a 5% increase in our taxable values, we should see some tax revenue coming in from those two items. And if there's any questions about any other part of the report, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Commissioner Brown.
You and I talked a bit earlier about the property values and looks like everyone's boat is rising with the values. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So if you look at that, if you go to that page 133 in your packet, I have ratios for every city and every township. And, you know, in the past years, we've seen maybe a higher gain in the southern end of the community trying to play catch up to when we had the recession back in '08. East Point was the hardest hit, I believe, in the state at the time. And so every year since then, we've been kind of playing catch up. However, if you look at those ratios, they're all in the 40s, and they're basically 43, what was it, 43.88, I think was the lowest one in there. To me, that's a good sign. They're all in the same range within a couple of percentage points of each other. And so everything is increasing, north to south, east to west, everything in the county is increasing. And so to me, that's a pretty good sign that that everybody's on the same page and every area of the county continues to be a desirable area. And we don't see anything, where maybe there might be some issues or some struggles happening. So to me, that was a real nice layout of ratios there across the whole residential class.
All boats are rising.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if this question is directly for you or not. Are you seeing that with general incomes, certain areas of incomes? Or you're just going at the facts as you see them?
I don't really dive into incomes,
Yeah.
property owner incomes type of thing, unless you're talking about incomes for rental properties or income generating properties.
No.
No, I wouldn't have any insight into the incomes of people.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Kristen, just looking at the residential class, talking to constituents, and obviously the real estate market, whether you want to believe it's hot or not, is extremely tight. if interest rates were to come down next year as they are, I want to say somewhat we're anticipating that they will come down, your numbers would then increase. Theoretically, if there are more sales or if the prices jump up again.
It's always supply and demand, it all depends on what the market is dictating. And in a situation where we have highest interest rates in years, which is crazy because I believe the interest rates are what they were when I bought my first house, so not to date myself or anything, but it wasn't that long ago, I don't think. But for me to try to predict that is tricky. And I'm not very good at that kind of a prediction. What I can do is let you know that this study is a 2-year study. 2 years of sales are in this mix, in these values. And there's a reason for that, because we are always basically 1.5 to 2 years behind the market, okay? So this could still be a tail end of what was happening last year before the rates got to the point that they are now. The state does have a provision in place where if the values start dropping and if the sales disappear and all that, then we can switch to a 1-year sales study, which is a little bit tighter for the year when we do our studies. But, having that 2 years worth is a little bit of a protective barrier for, great increases or great decreases in the values. And that's about the best that I can, I can see, I could maybe come back and have some predictions for you in April when I see where the values are. Because again, understand with this study, I'm the bad guy in the county, okay? I'm the dreaded tax assessor that dictates the values need to increase or decrease, but increase by this amount. And then I say, go forth, and the cities and the townships increase the values by what I tell them the sales were indicating for their jurisdictions. So, I tell them where we need to get to. I check it at March Board of Review, and then in April, I see where we are. Then, by that time, we're already done with the next 2-year sales study, right? Because it ends March 31st every year. So at that point, I might be able to give you a little bit better projection on where we might be headed.
Okay, great. Commissioner Nard.
Hi, I'm trying to just understand because I'm getting calls from constituents. I live in Warren, the lower half, and they're complaining that their interest rates are going high. So I don't know why that's happening. I'm wondering, is the value of the homes are being assessed higher than what they're worth or what it is? Because I know one constituent went from $1,700 to $6,000. And so that's a very big hike. It's like almost being taxed out of their homes. So I'm just trying to, you're saying, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm seeing something else in the South End.
So 1,700 to 6,000 is quite a large increase. Did they just purchase?
No, she's been there quite a while. She showed me the bill, and I was really shocked at that.
Something, without knowing exactly what property that is, I would be suspect, and I would be on the phone with the assessor trying to figure that out, because that's more than the 5% increase.
Okay,
That's a sizable increase.
It's a lot of people like that, and so she was just more significant. That was the highest.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why.
So, in February every year, the assessors are required to send a notice of assessment. And on the notice of assessment, there is an area that will let you know about what your taxes are going to increase by. There's a little area right above where all the numbers are. That's where they should be looking to see, so there isn't a surprise, because I would have been surprised. I would have had some serious questions for my assessor if my taxes were going up $4,300 a year. Now, if there's a lot of them in Warren, then that might be something that that the people that you talk to should take it up with their board of review. If they can't, you always have the ability to appeal your assessment
Okay.
to the Board of Review. So make sure that your constituents know, be watching for that thing that says, this is not a tax bill. It's not a tax bill, it's the notice of assessment.
Okay.
It gives an indication of that increase and what the values are gonna be and all of the information to appeal.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Okay, seeing no other questions, please vote.
Yes.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next is item C, the 2023 amended Macomb County appropriation report. Kristen, I actually need a motion to recommend this to full board. So move.
Support Zenner.
Moved by Commissioner Hawes, supported by Commissioner Kraft.
So the apportionment, again, is just the culmination of all of the millage rates that the local units intend to levy, and then I take those and I put them against their 23 taxable value totals to give an indication of what the total tax levy will be. The reason I'm bringing this back is because we did have one library millage for Richmond Township that was up for renewal on the November election. It did pass, and so I had to add that into the report. That was the only significant change.
Okay, seeing no other questions, please vote. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is correspondence, Central Intake Assessment Center Dashboard Report, December 2023. Need a motion to receive and file.
So moved by Nard.
Moved by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Wallace. I think this is just for informative purposes right now, as we're just getting this project going. Any questions, commissioners? Seeing none, please vote.
Zenner, yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
I'll turn it over to Commissioner Romano for the Records and Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Item 5 is Records and Public Safety Committee Department recommendations. Item A is an agreement for professional services, ATOS Public Safety LLC, Multi-Jurisdictional 911 Call Handling Center in the amount of $7,434,770.34. And we have the privilege of having the dispatch director in front of us, Miss Angela Elsey. Miss Elsey, I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So move.
Support.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Nard. Miss Elsey,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
I am here today with a request for the board to approve entering into a 6-year agreement with ATOS Public Safety for the procurement and support of their 911 call handling system. This is a system that will provide a 911 answering and call processing solution for Macomb County Sheriff's Office Dispatch, City of Warren Dispatch, and Shelby Township Dispatch. The county's transition to Next Generation 911, or NG 911, as you've heard me talk about many times, does necessitate an investment in a new compatible solution to leverage the enhanced technology and capabilities offered by an NG 911 environment. The current systems in place at our 3 PSAPs are reaching the end of their useful life as we approach the network migration. Our aging systems struggle to keep pace with the ever-increasing demands placed on them, leading to a number of concerning challenges. The current system is incompatible with the NG 911 core services and emergency services internet network infrastructure, hindering our ability to leverage the advanced capabilities offered by this technology. The existing system cannot accommodate the growth of our community and the evolving needs of our citizens. Outdated functionalities and manual processes lead to delays in call handling and reduced efficiency for dispatchers. And there is limited redundancy and reliability with our existing systems today. The aging infrastructure poses a significant risk of system errors jeopardizing our ability to process emergency calls efficiently without disruption. These challenges, in alignment with the requirements for network compatibility, demand a change. We need a cutting-edge solution that addresses these limitations and positions Macomb County as a leader in emergency response technology. So after a rigorous evaluation process, which included extensive research, a lot of communication with our consultant from Mission Critical, David Lucas, who is here today to support us, and you've heard me talk about him many times as well. So consultations with him and other industry experts, we identified the ATOS call handling solution was the optimal system. This cloud-based solution offers a comprehensive suite of features that directly addresses the challenges we face and delivers a multitude of benefits, positively impacting public safety, operational efficiency, and fiscal sustainability. Some improvements that you can expect to see as a result will be faster response times, just naturally because of the streamlined call handling processes and advanced features that enable dispatchers to respond to emergencies more quickly, identify those locations more quickly, potentially saving lives. Automatic call distribution, which eliminates the unnecessary delays by automatically routing calls to the appropriate dispatcher within the dispatch center based on location of the caller and urgency. AI, or artificial intelligence, powered call abandonment detection. So an abandoned call is when a call hits the network but doesn't necessarily make it to your call handling system, or you answer a call right at the same time that it's maybe dropped or disconnected. They have automatic call abandonment detection, which resolves abandoned emergencies by automatically returning those calls and sending outbound texts, and then connecting citizens back to 911 if an emergency exists without dispatcher intervention, freeing us up for other incoming emergency calls. I can't tell you how important that is when a summer storm hits. We will have 100 to 200 calls in our abandoned call list that we have to manually call back. Inter PSAP call identification. So this recognizes if a call is routed to the wrong dispatch center and also displays that to the call taker, which saves valuable time by immediately identifying the correct emergency response agency. This happens frequently. Currently, only so many calls can be processed within a center. And if, let's say Shelby Township, for example, can only take 6 incoming calls at a time, and another incoming call for 911 is being placed and needs to be routed to Shelby Township, it will default to another agency because that call has to be answered somewhere. We don't have any indication that that call should have been delivered to Shelby Township. Now we will. We've seen the demonstration. We've spoke to others. It'll directly say, attempted to deliver to Shelby Township. This belongs to them. We'll have the location information in front of us. So it eliminates that information gathering and helps us quickly connect with Shelby or whatever agency that might be to get emergency response out there. Has predictive user interface, which anticipates the dispatcher's needs and suggested next steps, streamlining the call handling process altogether. ATOS has a robust data capture capability to provide dispatchers with critical information for efficient decision-making and resource allocation. These include enhanced call recording. It will integrate with our recorder that captures all of our 911 and non-emergency calls as it is, including caller location and history to provide a complete picture of the event. Advanced data analytics that we don't have the capability to receive right now, which will generate insights into call volume and patterns and trends, enabling proactive resource allocation and better preparedness. And elastic reporting, which delivers real-time statistics and insights, allowing for immediate adjustments and informed decision-making. The interoperable communication is incredibly important. There's automated functions such as call routing and data-free entry, freeing up the dispatcher's time, allowing them to focus on critical tasks. The real-time data analytics I talked about, reduced administrative burden as well. Because of these streamlined workflows and centralized management tools, this is going to lessen the burden on our IT staff and our dispatchers. the seamless call transfer, which facilitates swift and reliable transfers between our dispatch centers. And as you know, there's 9 of them, so the 3 of us at least that have decided to move forward together right now will be able to easily identify if a call belongs to one another and have a seamless transfer in between. This opens the opportunity for a lot of backup possibilities. It enables our PSAPs to support each other during emergencies, maximizing service availability and response efficiency. You know, we currently have our physical backup site within the city of Warren. They have 4 councils within Comtech Dispatch for their backup, but we have to have physical sites because we have physical hardwired equipment connected to copper lines. And so there's not another way to achieve a backup. If I have a secure internet connection and a VPN and 2-factor authentication, I could access this call handling system from a laptop at my kitchen table if I needed to in an emergency. So it does allow us to really expand on our backup capabilities to support each other in the county. And then, you know, the remote access that I just talked about in case of physical emergencies. Cost savings and future proving. I know it looks like a big price tag, but sharing these licenses and cost model in collaboration with the City of Warren and Shelby Township does allow us to leverage economies of scale and share the cost of the system, maximizing our overall investment. It reduces maintenance overall. ATOS handles all the software updates and maintenance, eliminating the need for our IT staff or our dispatch supervisors to manage these tasks, which reduces long-term costs overall. With our current vendor, we are calling support almost daily, approximately about 5 times a week for some type of support or need of an upgrade, and we won't have to manage it in the same way anymore. It's scalable and flexible architecture. Like I mentioned, this is a cloud-based solution, which allows for seamless expansion and modification as our community grows and our technology evolves, just protecting our overall investment. With any cloud solution, cybersecurity is always a concern. I hope that you'll feel assured that we have had conversations with our IT director, our chief information officer, and our direct IT support over the course of the last year, and they do not have any concerns that have been identified. They've reviewed all of the documentation. However, it's important for me to highlight as well that ATOS has a really strong relationship with Google Cloud or partnership, and that is where our system will live. ATOS was also awarded as Google's Cloud Partner of the Year several times for its achievements in the Google Cloud ecosystem, specifically for its ability to to provide and create secure environments. So also in addition, in 2024, ATOS will be, it will be their 12th consecutive Olympic Games as the worldwide IT partner. So they put a really strong emphasis on cybersecurity and infrastructure management, and that makes me feel really good that our network will be supported by that. They have very stringent cybersecurity measures. They are also the primary next generation 911 network provider for the entire state of California. So Google, the international Olympics, and the most populated state in America, it really doesn't get much more secure than that. So cybersecurity is not a concern for us moving forward with them. ATOS simply does just provide the best qualified and progressive solution available. Fairfax County, Virginia released an RFP in May of 2021 for a new call handling solution, and ATOS was awarded the bid in August of 2022. So rather than go out to bid ourselves, since this had already been recently bid out with competitors, we will be leveraging the existing government contract with Fairfax, which proves to be the most cost-effective and time-efficient approach. This approach ensures that we benefit from competitive GSA pricing without the need for a separate bid process. The ATOS solution, as adopted by Fairfax County, has undergone rigorous evaluation, and not only meets but exceeds our specific requirements. Our requirements being a cost-effective solution to support a next-generation 911 environment, provide us with a replacement, which what we need, and possess the highest degree of resiliency, reliability, redundancy, and service availability. So the total one-time cost for installation is $1,058,656, and an annual fee of $848,476. Funding is entirely available with the fund balance of E911 Cellular Fee Fund, which is the revenue from our state and local surcharge. ATOS will invoice the county for the one-time costs in 4 equal payments with different milestone dates identified in the scope of work. The first being due upon completion and approval of the project plan, so not due at signing. The reoccurring costs will be invoiced monthly and will begin upon acceptance, which is the final phase of the project. As you are aware, the E911 surcharge revenue is remitted to the county, and our Wireless Oversight Committee meets quarterly to distribute that revenue amongst all 9 PSAPs. So Warren and Shelby will be contributing their share of the total one-time cost and reoccurring costs to the total cost of the contract. However, they will be utilizing the revenue that they receive from the distribution of the E911 funds, because that's exactly what this money is for, and what we have been planning for, these capital upgrades and technology advancements. So the plan is to deduct their total costs from the distribution rather than distribute their portion of the revenue and then have them turn around and give it right back to us from the same fund. So the fund balance and all future state and local 911 revenue can only be used for very strict and specific expenses, as you've heard me say many times. So in previous presentations, I promised the board that you would see a significant investment in our call handling system and our next generation 911 environment. This collaborative effort, working on the procurement of one single call handling solution for our 3 PSAPs, is made with fiscal responsibility in mind. This contract is also designed to allow for the remaining 6 PSAPs in the county to join at any time, and they would pay their portion of the one-time cost back to the fund balance and reducing all agencies' recurring costs. We have had many conversations with all of the PSAPs. Some of them simply are not joining right now just because they're in contract with another vendor for a couple more years. So with the cloud-based model, there's also no geographical limitations to who can join our system, so it potentially allows for us to expand beyond the Macomb County footprint even, which could open the door for more cost and license sharing. So I've mentioned several factors that make ATOS the most qualified and progressive solution available. Their proven track record with their successful implementation with their next generation 911 call handling solution in Fairfax County and other places across the United States. Primarily in Europe, they have entire countries with their call handling solution. A cost-effective approach, leveraging the existing contract with Fairfax County to ensure that competitive pricing without a separate bid process, the advanced features that they offer that meet and exceed our requirements. You've heard me talk about the capabilities that we will have to text message in over 100 different languages. That is what this will provide us. This solution will provide us the opportunity to take advantage of multimedia in the form of video or live stream, photos, different enhanced data, wearables. There's so many different ways that emergencies are being delivered to 911 centers now that I truly believe in the next 10 years we're going to see a decline in 911 calls, but increase in emergencies, but just delivered in different ways. And we have to have a solution that supports that. And this is that. It's future-proofing technology. This cloud-based architecture provides unparalleled scalability and flexibility, and this is how we have a system that will help us adapt and grow with the needs of our community and the growth of our industry. And the shared responsibility, this collaboration with Warren and Shelby Township, at least to start, allows us to share the cost and workload and maximize our resource utilization. So overall, the ATOS call handling solution represents a strategic investment in the future of Macomb County. Its advanced features, track record, and cost-effective approach make it the ideal solution to ensure the continued safety and well-being of our community. And with that, I respectfully ask that the board consider approving our request to enter into agreement with ATOS, and I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Prior to the meeting, I asked the director, or actually I said to the director, you're asking for a lot of money, $7 million. And she said, I can substantiate and show you where it's being spent and why it's so necessarily needed. Not only did you do that in an excellent way, but you've shown to me that the 911 center, what you're putting in there is critical, and you've added a lot of bell and whistles. And you detailed it well, Ms. Elsey. I have some commissioners here have some questions. Commissioner Kraft, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela, I can't get by without a
no,
question or something. So I appreciate all the time and effort you put into this. This makes perfect sense. The way you guys went about it, looking at Fairfax County, going with ATOS, that's all well and good. I'm looking forward to the future and the uncertainty of the future when it comes to, we have this fund set up, the surcharge set up for another year, and then the plan is to go to the voters, and then obviously that's unpredictable. Worst case scenario, it gets voted down. This is a 6-year contract. What happens then in terms of funding?
Sure. So we definitely considered that, right? And that's another reason why some PSAP said we just can't right now, because we don't have the security of sustainable funding. We can pay for this, the sheriff's office, with our E911 revenue, with our local revenue, with our state revenue that we receive, as well as our fund balance. I can't say the same about Warren, and I can't say the same about Shelby. That is something they had to consider when saying we're all in. So, in discussions that they had with, their leadership or township board or city board, I hope that there's a plan. It's not necessarily my business, other than saying, if you're going to commit, you have to have a fund source, right? So I don't know. The concern that I have, though, is that we can pay for this, and this is necessary, right? We need a new phone system, and we have to have a phone system that supports the capabilities now and that are coming. But future upgrades that we've talked about and other technology enhancements will be coming to the board for funding for.
And then tell me again what the cost would, so, okay, worst case scenario, voters vote no. We don't get the surcharge funds anymore. What would be the county's contribution annually to this project post the 1 year?
Yeah, so considering we would not have E911 money to cover more,
Yes.
yeah, right. So the county's portion would be $471,727.
And that's with Shelby and Warren still pitching in, correct?
That is just us.
That's just us. So Shelby and Warren, let's say they win the surcharge, if it goes down, I'm thinking worst case scenario here. If it goes down, would we supplement theirs, or would they have to find a way to pay because they're entering into this contract?
They would have to find a way, yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Commissioner Van Sickle, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. You mentioned that in the future you may have enhancements like texting, multimedia, photos, and whatnot. Would there be uppers to the cost, or are those features included in what we currently have the contract?
Yeah, those features are included, and a lot of those features, they're only possible because of the network migration that we're still in the project phase of, and the actual network migration is no cost to us, but the features that exist on the call handling solution in order to take advantage of those things are included in the contract, yes.
The Shelby and Warren contributions. Are they included in the numbers before us, or are they in addition to the 7 million?
They're included in that.
Okay. And you also mentioned if other jurisdictions want to get involved, they would be asked to contribute their portion. How are those portions calculated? Is that by population or?
Yeah, that's a great question. One that poor David was pulling his hair out with because he just couldn't wrap his mind around why we do things this way. But yeah, as identified in our 911 plan with the way that the money is distributed, and that's by per capita, we decided that it's only fair to have the contribution done the same way. Because if we're not all receiving equal revenue from this funding source, we can't be expected to pay equal. And if I need 20 licenses and Shelby needs 5, it's just not fair. So we took the total one-time cost and divided that by population. And so same as the sheriff's office receives about 48% of the revenue, sheriff's office would be responsible for 48% of the one-time cost. And same as the reoccurring, unless I added some bells and whistles, which I'm not, but yeah, so that's exactly how it was done. What ATOS and David did was break this down into all 9 PSAPs to say, okay, well, if Sarisa were to come on board, Sarisa is 15% of the population. And don't quote me on that, I'm making that up, but 15% of the population. So they would be responsible for 15% of the total one-time cost. So if they were to come on board, we would recuperate 15% of that one-time cost we paid by Sarisa's contribution, because it wouldn't be fair that Shelby, Warren, and the sheriff's office, just because we were the first 3 that were ready to go, we're the white knight for everyone in that big lump sum. So.
Can the system, if more jurisdictions come on board, would there be uppers to the total contract? I understand they would contribute a percentage, but would the total contract swell, and then so our 48% would be of a bigger number?
No. So it would actually reduce our costs because this is a license sharing. There would be an increase in the contract, but that would be 100% of those costs would be the responsibility of that PSAP, because it might be they have 5 call handling stations. Now they need to outfit those 5 stations. So they're responsible for that. And because we are going to maintain the contract and oversee it, our contract would increase. They'd be responsible for that cost. But the overall recurring costs for everyone would slowly reduce. And it would depend on the size of that agency, how much that reduction would be initially or over time. And that's just because, the way that the concurrent licenses are done, this is really ideal to say, I have 56 dispatchers. I don't want to pay for 56 licenses. I have 20 workstations and 12 at Warren. I don't want to pay for 32 licenses when I have 12 to 15 people on duty at a time. So we say, based on how many PSAPs are ready to move forward together, how many people on duty do you have at a time? That might be 25 total. So here's your 25 licenses, let's share them. And then that reduces the cost, because now I'm not paying for 32.
$1 million plus for installation is a lot of money. Does that include training?
It does. So the
On site
overall,
or there?
I'm sorry?
On site, or do you have to send people remotely?
No, here. Yep, it'll be on site. That $1,058,000 specifically does not include the training, but the overall cost of that contract in that $7 million, it does include the training cost. I know that sounds like a big number, and it is, but
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah. And however, in comparison, because I wanted to kind of identify in comparison to what we have now, where that was. And so what I was able to find is that with our current system, which we purchased in 2012, and at that time, we were a small 5-seat dispatch center in the jail. We've since grown like I just mentioned, to a 20-seat center with a 12-seat backup center. So we grew from 5 to 32. The one-time costs, initial one-time costs aren't comparable because of the drastic change in size, but I did go back and look at every one-time cost over the life of this contract that we've had with our current vendor, which totaled to $1,110,000 just for our center. And this $1,058,000 is for, that won't increase even if 6 more come on board in the county.
Does that installation include, you talk about workstations, does that actually include hardware that they're installing, that they're supplying?
So the $1,058,000 is the pretty much installation or setup of our environment in the cloud, right? So that just eliminates the backroom, tall, hard servers. It replaces that, right? It just transitions it to virtual. And then from there, it also breaks it down further into the PSAP specific environment and installation. But the total cost of the 7,400,000, whatever the 7.4 is, it does include the physical hardware that the dispatchers are using to answer the phone. So the computer screen, the keyboard, the headset, the audio box, all of that is included. That's included in the reoccurring cost because this is a service subscription, essentially. So it's kind of the model that a lot of technology companies are moving towards because it's more secure. So you're subscribing to the service versus purchasing it outright. So your overall investment ends up being lower because the service provider handles all those updates, maintenance, and troubleshooting, but also make sure that we always have updated hardware and ensuring that the users always have the latest technology, all of those upgrades. So, it's pretty much like renting a car versus buying one, right? Where, you're going to be guaranteed the modern and the, lack of responsibility for what needs to be maintained on it while driving the best and not worrying about it. So really, this is kind of the same model. So instead of that one-time cost, including physical hardware that I'm buying outright, and then I have to call the vendor and say, this doesn't work, nickel and dime me every time I need a new handset, headset, keyboard, computer screen, it's a constant refreshment.
So since the hardware is included in the operational funds, after a certain number of years, will they upgrade the hardware?
I don't know if it's I believe it's when the contract is renewed. Right.
You want to come up to the microphone if you're going to, please?
Sorry, this is David
That's all right.
Lucas, our consultant with Mission Critical.
Go ahead, David.
Oh, thank you. She's done a great, outstanding job of explaining this. But the operational hardware in each individual PSAP, we call it evergreen. So when they break, they replace them. We have spares, on site, so they replace them right then, and they continue that throughout the whole 7 years. So some will be replaced in 3 years, some will last 5, some will last 1. So they always keep those fresh and updated, the hardware and the software. They also do that, obviously, for everything in the cloud in the back office, but the high impact are the ones that are on the PSAP floor. Those get a lot of wear and tear. As she says, it's all the way down to the keyboard and the headset, which are, as we say, high consumables, and they replace those throughout the period.
You said that the system will collect a lot of data. At the end of 7 years, if we choose to go a different route, is there something in the current contract that would cover our costs to get our data back from this company?
So the data that is collected is your data. They are just storing it.
I know, but it's our data, but they may say, yeah, but it's our labor to get it to you. So I want to know if they can gouge us because we have nothing in the contract to say you're going to limit the charges to get our data to us.
There is not a limitation to the charge as you outline. There is requirements in there that they have to provide the data at no cost. Not all the time, but limited. Like we can go and ask for it monthly. It's usually a biannual cycle where you can pull that, and that is to meet a lot of retention requirements that different states have and counties.
So are you saying that them supplying the data is covered by the current contract?
Yes.
The fees for supplying the data?
Yes, they're already built into the contract. that we
Okay.
review, correct.
So at the end of the 7 years, we could say, supply us all of our data and there would be no additional fees?
That's correct, based on the data in the retention schedule, which is, we usually follow whatever the state requirements are.
Yeah, we
Yes.
follow retention schedule 34, which is quite detailed on the data. But also, we have access to our data, at least while we're on the system, at any time. And these are statistics I'm running monthly, or attempting to with our current solution, the best that we can. But this is where I receive this type of data and analytics solution that's included, is where I would access all of our year-end call volume reports, the trends to see which community had the highest amount of incoming calls and those things. So I would also be obtaining that, saving that, storing that before the contract would be over anyhow.
It all sounds good. I'd just like a little more detail on the $1+ million for the installation, because I don't know, since none of it's going to be the hardware workstations or anything else, that sounds like it's all in labor, and that's well over a couple man-years in labor.
Yeah, so the 1 million round figures is what they call the enterprise setup. So as you said, they're setting up the system in the cloud, and then they go to every PSAP and set up their specific PSAP requirements. Okay, and they do that for all of them. As she says, it's $1 million for this county, and if we added up to the 9 that we have, we could add another 20 PSAPs, and it's still covered in that initial. So it's the initial setup. Is it high for a county this size? It's probably a little more than you would pay for some of their competitors, but their competitors, you're already shrink wrapped into that size. It has no way to expand, even adding another seat. So over the cost of the term of the contract, 7 years, it's lower total cost of ownership than any other competitors that we reviewed. So it is a setup. You're right, it is not hardware. The hardware that is what they're paying Google for storage and those things, but those are their internal costs.
So you're saying in year 7, if we have another PSAP come online, their installation is covered
Yes.
through this?
Anywhere in during those 7 years. Like year 1, if one comes in, we identified 9 for the size, but if someone in a neighboring county wants to join, it's already built into that, and that's when the cost savings come up, because then you have more population sharing that $1 million cost. So the original people in kind of, I don't want to call it a rebate, but they see less and their monthly rate goes down. So it's kind of like a cooperative. The more you have in there, the cheaper it is for all the individuals.
So did I catch that you said we can do up to 9?
We designed it for 9 initially. If we designed it for, let's say 20, it was still the $1 million. It was the annual cost that she outlined before, the 471, those things that change. So as we add beyond the original 3, and we go into 4 up to 9, that monthly charge that she mentioned will be lower for your Warren, Shelby, and the sheriff, because as you get more partners, you share that cost.
We designed it for 9 because there's currently 9 PSAPs in Macomb County, so that's why we stopped there.
Is that a little wishful thinking that they're all going to join, or?
Well, no, because everyone, all the PSAPs need a new phone. And that's been communicated with all the PSAP leadership from the very beginning, when we entered into agreement with David in December of 2021 at approval of this board. And the reason why is because we needed help navigating the migration from the legacy 911 network to a next generation 911 network. And one of those things identified was in all of his very detailed PSAP visits, you all have to have a new phone system or upgrade your current. But depending on what your current is, you won't necessarily have the scalability and flexibility, but everyone needs one because it's not compatible with the network. And those aren't his standards. Those are National Emergency Number Association standards and what the network requires. And so we all need one. And then plus, most of us, they're all aging. So some of these PSAPs have just decided that, you know, right now, they're in agreement with another vendor, rather than breaking that agreement and dealing with any ramifications from that. Let's wait until this, you know, agreement ends, then we'll join. I can't hold their feet to that though, right? So I don't want to tell you, yes, so-and-so's committed in 2 years to come on board with us, but there's a lot of interest, and we had a lot of investment from all the centers in all of our meetings, even some of them who recently procured a phone system just a couple years ago. You know, we're still very invested and interested, and so, because they all know they have to have one, so, you know, I think some of them are just upgrading their version for now, and buying time on the current contract that they're on.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Angela. Great job.
Thank you.
I mean, you did a fabulous job outlining this, and even all of the time that you put in just researching this. David, great consulting on your part and your team. I like what you said about future-proofing system. You said that earlier, which I think you've definitely identified that with this system. Couple questions just in regards to some of the other PSAPs that are out there. So is any other community using this system right now?
In Michigan? No.
Okay.
So, and that is not because they don't want to. There are primarily 3 vendors that have really had the market in the state. And ATOS really just kind of entered into the US about 10 years ago-ish. But there are a ton of PSAPs, more worldwide, using their product than, you know, other vendors combined in the country here. But Fairfax County, Virginia is obviously using it. There's St. Francis County, Missouri, which we've spoken to. We've spoken to both of them. But we've also, you know, really done our research, and the cloud-based solution, you're starting to see other competitors come in with an offering like this. But some of them are, you know, how some technology companies just, they want to be the first one to get it out there, and they want to be the first one to say, we have this contract. And this vendor has not done that with us. They've proven their product is what we need to be progressive and to take advantage of the functionality that exists. So, yeah, there's no one in Michigan yet, but I don't feel like it would be a guinea pig. I told David the other day, I said I feel like more of a pioneer, because this is something I'm really confident in and excited to see what it does for the rest of the state.
You know, years ago when, you know, technology was different, we had to buy the servers and we had to buy everything. Today, everything is licensed and cloud-based and makes our lives a lot easier as far as on the IT side. I'm glad that all the hardware and phones and everything's part of the deal, because that was actually one of my questions that Commissioner Van Sickle asked. In regards to the term of the contract, I know it's 6 years, and then you have, what, an annual renew every year thereafter.
Every year.
Since our current system, it's been with us, what, 10 plus years now, did we look into going to a longer term rather than 6 years? I'm thinking if we're making this huge investment, is 6 years kind of the sweet spot as far as pricing with them and how that kind of worked out?
Because we're purchasing a Fairfax County's contract, and theirs was a 6-year contract, and we have to stick to the terms of their
Got
contract,
it.
essentially, so.
Okay. And then the 1.5, the upfront cost as far as the setup goes, I know, you know, some of these other PSAPs hopefully will join on board. I would assume we would be charging them back a portion of that, what we're paying, I would say prepaying on their behalf. Obviously, they're going to save money, but that would be the right thing to do.
So, and I should clarify too, that 1.5, even if I didn't approach this with any other PSAPs and decided to just silo ourselves and move forward with ATOS independently, it would still be the 1.5. So that is the installation cost no matter what. So yes, what we did then was say, because we want to build this phone consortium and have this collaboration and cost sharing, and that exists for anyone to join at any point within the 6-year contract, let's divide that 1.5 up and give you your cost should you come on board during the life of this contract. So when we met with the PSAPs, we actually told them, because it's a fixed cost, that 58 is not going to increase, that if you decide to come on board before this contract is over, this is exactly what you would be paying for your contribution to the one-time cost, which would just really be a, like a refund to the fund balance, right? So they all know those already, which was really great because it helps them make an educated decision as they move forward in their procurement, eventually when their contracts are up. So they know those costs, they're fixed. They know what their reoccurring cost would be. We could only really give them that based on all 9 because we don't know who would join or when, right? But we said, okay, if all 9 were in, here's what your cost would be, right? Other than us, Warren and Shelby.
Are the other ones, are they with different vendors or are they all primarily with one?
So currently us, Warren and Shelby, we all have the same vendor. Sheriff's Office and Warren, we are connected, but again, through a physical server at their location, physical server at ours, fiber under the ground connecting, right? So these 2 different nodes, and that doesn't always work great. It was the absolute best, and the county did a fantastic job putting in what we have. But it's not the best anymore. It's antiquated now. Shelby, even though they have the same system, we have no interoperability with them. So there are a total of 4 CHE, so 4 different phone vendors between our 9 PSAPs.
Well, hopefully they make the switch. Obviously, they're going to be, pressured by their current vendors to stay on board with them, but I think hopefully they can see the big picture and the value it is to join, what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Angela.
The Commissioner, I have Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. I want to follow on Commissioner Romano's and Commissioner Sabatini's comments. Your passion, your enthusiasm, and your thoroughness on this has just been overwhelming. But for a point of clarification, just so we all understand, since we decided to put the E911 surcharge on the ballot, if that goes down, we are committing to your budget close to $500,000 annually until this runs out.
We
Is
will
that
be
correct?
able, so we will be able to continue to fund this contract with the fund balance and with the revenue that we receive from the state surcharge for the sheriff's office. So yes. However, for other projects that we might have or other necessary costs that we might have in our budget years moving forward without the E911 local funding, I would need to come to the board for funding for whatever those future things might be.
Thank you. And secondly, we had investigated Sarisa coming on board with the county. Is that what you're calling a PSAP?
Yes, public safety answering point.
Okay. One of the the primary reason they couldn't is it was cost prohibited with the current equipment system that they have. Will this new system open an opportunity for them to convert? Because the number back then was like, and Vicki knows that we talked about this quite a bit and researched it quite a bit. It was like $2.5 million that the city of Roseville was going to have, well, the Sarisa members were going to have to come up with to be able to become compatible with the contact system. It's not that they didn't want to, is they couldn't afford it. Would this new system open up an opportunity for them to do that without a $2.5 million investment?
Not necessarily, because those agencies that participate in Sarisa, the software that they would be required to have in order to join Comtech would be their mobile applications, so their in-car computers in the fire trucks and the police vehicles. And so that is the software that's installed within that vehicle that communicates the information for the incident that they're responding to. And so that's separate from the call handling system. That's also their records management system that's included in that cost that we provided them with. So that is more their public safety suite for the responders, and this is for the E911 side. So no part of the Sarisa agency's proposal included any costs that the dispatch center would be responsible for, which is the call handling system. So consolidation wise between our centers, yeah, it'd be less expensive, but which could potentially trickle down if we got creative with some type of, funding model. But directly, no, because that's a completely separate vendor for the public safety responder software.
Well, I just want to make it clear, we tried to get very creative with funding models to try to bring them on board. So it's a lot more with the local municipalities from a cost perspective than not wanting to be with the most innovative, creative system like you people, like we're proposing doing here. So when we talk about going from 9 to 20, they're looking for a funding model to be able to do that as well.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Grote?
Hello. Just a quick question. Great presentation, first of all. Did you have the presentation at Shelby Township and they are aware of all the?
Yeah, so what we did was we held due diligence demonstrations from all of our current vendors that represent all the dispatch centers in the county and other potential vendors like ATOS, and invited representatives from all dispatch centers. Shelby Township was very invested and present at every one. I work very closely with Shelby on a weekly basis. They have been an incredible partner in this project and procurement. So yes, they are very aware and committed. So
How long is going to take to implement the system?
we won't necessarily know for sure until we have our official kickoff meeting and develop the project plan. And then as the project manager, I would have to accept that plan. But through conversations David and I have had, we expect within the calendar year of 2024, it should be completed. It's a big project. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other speakers? Thanks. You have a motion and support? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Excellent report, Else. Let's go to item 10, which is public participation. This is the opportunity for public participation. It's for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any issue. That leaves you, Mr. Biondo.
Sure.
Item 11 is commissioners' comments. Let's see what we have here, if anything.
Nobody.
Nobody wants to speak? Well, then I think,
Motion to adjourn.
no, I think as a group, we should wish Crystal happy birthday, which is tomorrow.
Okay.
In unison, happy birthday, Crystal.
Happy birthday, Crystal.
Let's go to item 12.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Hall,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Zinner. Please vote.